4 off the block. I'm Dane Lopes, and we are now joined by Jonah Carson, the head coach of the U.S. Men's Junior National Team. They're currently in Chicago right now doing a training block before they head down to the Norseca Continental Championships as they try to qualify for the 2019 FIVB U21 World Cup. And, Coach, I have to ask you guys a bit, in the gym now for about a week. How's the team looking so far?
You know what? The guys have been absolutely incredible in terms of their commitment to training and training intensity. So it's been quite a pleasure to be with them. We've been grinding pretty hard for the last couple of days. Gave the guys the day off today. Had a chance to watch some film and review, and it's been really positive just in terms of how the guys have responded to the things we've been training.
Now, Coach, you have a 17-player roster. You're going to be cutting that down to 12 here, 12 players in the next couple of days. Can you just talk about how difficult this process has been determining the players who you're going to keep on your roster?
Well, I mentioned it before. I mean, USA Volleyball has done such a job, and all the coaches involved in the high performance pipeline have done just such an incredible job in developing players in the United States over the last couple of years. And so the pipeline has some depth, and it has a strong group of players, and definitely the guys who are here in the gym are exhibiting a lot of that. So we appreciate the guys coming in and training as hard as they have. I think it's been a good training block for all of them.
Yeah. Now, you talked about being able to watch some film today. What's been maybe one or two things that you've seen on the film or just watching live in person that you noticed that this is going to be a strength of this team?
Well, we've got some size, that's for sure. So we've been able to ramp up some of our serving and blocking and just trying to make that a priority for us in terms of how we're going to score some points. And also just really recognizing that we can set pretty high to the pins, and we've got guys who are capable of going up and scoring, and that if we find ourselves running around a little bit in transition or on a medium pass, we've also got some pretty dominant middles who are able to score. So there's been a lot of focus on figuring out how can we score runs of points, and that's been nice to see that we've been able to do that a couple of times.
Yeah. Now, Coach, your training block started last week. It ends this week, so still a lot of time left in the gym. But has there been any players or a couple players that have surprised you and have really stood out and impressive so far in the training camp?
I think I'd take some time to point out our pin attackers. Those guys came in, and we've just really asked them to do a lot and focus on a lot in terms of their serve receive and in terms of their pin attacking. And so Jalen Jasper is obviously a guy that there's a lot of eyes looking at, and he's someone who's shown some real growth just in a short amount of time in his ability to get up and attack the ball. And everybody knows Jalen is a hard worker and he's a high flyer, but he's really shown that he's able to add some power to his attacks just even in our short training block. And then on the left side, we've got a couple of guys who are veterans of the USA Pipeline and veterans of playing volleyball in terms of Devin Jocelyn and JP Riley. Those are two guys who have really shown that they have the ability to start passing the ball and scoring points. And so a couple of guys there I think have done a nice job.
Now, Coach, I want to ask you, for you in particularly, obviously this is always a tough job coaching this team because you got, not the players are great, but just the timeline. You got a couple of weeks and then, you're off playing your tournament. What's been the biggest challenge for you as the head coach of this team?
I think it's about making sure that we're precise in what we're asking the guys to do. The guys understand the timeline, and so that's not something that we see as a detriment. It's just our reality. So the guys understand the timeline that we're under, and I think it's really just been about us as a coaching staff being precise in what we're asking the players to focus upon, and the players responding to that as efficiently and as focused as we'd like. And so far, that's really has been the case. So I've seen a lot of improvement.
All right, Coach, and final question. We'll let you go on this. Kind of take us through the timeline right now before you make the player cuts. What's some of the final drills or, final things that you're going to be focusing on these last couple of days in practice before you make your decision?
Yeah, we've been using a pretty good rotating schedule of a fairly light, no jumping warning session, and then a pretty hard get after it 6v6 sessions in the evening. So we're going to stick with that for the next couple of days, and just try and make sure that we're giving the guys the rest they need while training serve receive passing and some of the non-setter contacts, and then making sure that we're implementing some of those skills in our 6v6 drills. So we'll continue with that process over the next couple of days, and then we'll take off for Cuba.